questions.
Okay. If anybody has any questions before we start? If not, then we'll continue from where we left off last week. So I'll just put on the page that we had been reading from, just to sum up what we spoke about. I think this is my own thought, but I think it's pashut that whenever a person talks about the Beis HaMikdash, the main point he has to talk about is the shoresh. Everything else that we'll talk about, which we started talking about already, the hashlachot, the offshoot of the ramifications of the korban, is like the second step. If you miss the first step, so then I think that missing the main point. The psukim and the midrashim, they all talk about Hashem's presence, the word Shechina, which of course has to be explained. Hashem is not physical and is not you don't talk about Hashem being in a physical place. But the concept of Shechina is something which is limited to a place, which needs explanation. The Ramchal seems to say that the simple idea is that even though there's no physicality to Hashem, but there is a place of revelation, the place where Hashem reveals. And the Shechina is the place of the Gilui, where Hashem is mitgalah more. Sometimes the Gemara says, Shechina b'chol makom. There is such a concept that Shechina, any place where you see any kind of creation, so that's a hofa'ah. That's an appearance of Hashem's being, not his essence, but the fact that Hashem, if something is created, so you see that there's a creator. That's also kind of a revelation. And it could be possible, so there's a chuzim, different amount of revelation, and the place that's considered the Makom HaShechina is the Beis HaMikdash, and that's the place where Hashem says He lives. The lashon of the Zohar is Rusi Lado B'Einaichu, and I want to live amongst you. That's the lashon of Hashem in many places. That Hashem, the pasuk says, "V'shochanti," that I will dwell amongst you. The Shechina is like shochein. The word shochein means someone who lives. So that's the concept of the Beis HaMikdash. And before we go on to all of the hashlachot of Hashem's absence when there's a korban, so that's the main point, that Hashem is not there. If someone comes to a house of mourning and he just talks about the ramifications without talking about the absence of the one who was missing, so he missed the point. He could talk about all the sorrows that the children might be having because their father is missing, but talk about the father, the fact that that's the main point. And then all of the hashlachot that are as a result. So I think that's the main point, that people have to realize there's such a thing called Shechina, Hashem's presence, and basically was that Hashem wanted to live amongst us. The lashon of the midrashim are Mitchilas B'Yaseh Shalom, the Savakodesh Baruch Hu Laso Shutfus B'Tachtonim, that there should be a connection between Hashem and the Nivram, the creations. That's us. The Gemara talks about the brachas, that there's a wall that's that there's like an iron wall between us and Hashem. So that's the presence of Hashem is missing amongst us. People talk about the fact that we never experienced, so it's not possible to know what it is. I think that if we would reflect on the idea, it's not totally removed from us. And to be able to imagine what it would be that there'd be a house, you go, like Rabbi Miller would say, that you go in the streets of Yerushalayim, and if you'd be going on a tour, and you say, who's that house, what is this building? And then you come to the Beis HaMikdash, you say, that's where Hashem lives. And that way, it wouldn't be an untrue statement. That's where Hashem lives. That's where Hashem calls it. That's where His Shechina is. Again, Hashem is not physical, but there is a place of a physical, limited place where Hashem makes the revelation over there. So I think that's the point that has to be mostly stressed about the difference between the Binyan Beis HaMikdash and the Korban Beis HaMikdash. I think that we're looking forward to and davening for and warning. And it's not enough on Tisha B'Av just to talk about Sinas Chinam and Lashon Hara. That's not doing justice. That's not called mourning. That's just called to fix up the problem that maybe will bring it back. But if you don't mourn about the loss, so it's missing the point of what Tisha B'Av is about. We started talking about some of the ramifications that this was a Hagdama to, and we had a list of some ideas, and not exhaustive list, but points about the Karbonos that were the main avoda is called the Karbonos, and a person who got a very big closeness to the Karbonos, and the effects of the Karbonos will be not only in his personal relationship, but their relationship of the whole Am Yisrael to Hashem, and taking it on a very simple level. The word korban means a present. You're able to bring a korban to Hashem, even the tefillah, a present to Hashem. Even tefillah start connected korbanos tiknam, but korbanos that we don't have nowadays is a huge loss. The whole Sefer Vayikra is korbanos, and we don't have that because of the korban. Torah, even though people think that they have Torah nowadays, but the pasuk is in Torah, that is not considered we have nowadays is only considered what was supposed to be, as Am Yisrael would be with the Beis Hamikdash. The Torah would be thriving, and it would be not just but it will be continuously. Mayan is going to say, and it also goes together to have to be able to have the pasuk says that that Hashem's attentive to the tefillas that are on the Beis Hamikdash. In the schus of the Beis Hamikdash, even nowadays, we're still also opponent to the Beis Hamikdash. We're facing the Beis Hamikdash. Welcome Mikdash, even though the Beis Hamikdash is not there, but the difference between how Hashem listens to our tefillas with the Beis Hamikdash and without the Beis Hamikdash is a world of a difference. I always am very impressed with the pasuk by Chizkiyahu. He wanted to show Hashem that what Sancheir had sent him a letter. He ran to the Beis Hamikdash and he by Yahweh Beis Hashem by Chizkiyahu Lefnei Hashem. I think it's an awesome pasuk that he, as if he went to the Hashem's office, took out the letter and spread it open. That's amazing expression of he came in front of Hashem and he opened up the letter to show Hashem. It means you're coming into Hashem's house. Ruach HaKodesh, Nevuah, different very high levels that we're not able to get now without the Beis Hamikdash. We could talk to Hashem, but we don't hear Hashem. But then what would be that a person would be able to hear Hashem would communicate to man, and that's only with the Beis Hamikdash. We said that we're missing more than half of the mitzvahs. The mitzvahs are all not commandments, but shleimuyot, that perfections that Hashem makes in a way that a person that gets closer to Him, like it says in the Mesilas Yesharim, because the mitzvahs are ways of perfecting us, getting closer to Hashem, and we're missing more than half the mitzvahs. The Chafetz Chaim, he lists out 271 out of 613. We're missing most of the mitzvahs. Many of the masechtas that we learn don't apply nowadays. They only say the kashim, say the taras. It's almost only the drabanan, and many masechtas mention that they don't apply nowadays. Sanhedrin, that's another point. Sanhedrin itself is a point that we're missing, and Shkolim, Chagiga, Nazir, Sota, etc. Many different masechtas don't apply nowadays, and the lack of it is the loss. Just to have we can learn about it, but the fact that we don't have the application of all these mitzvahs is a very big bali movement. Sanhedrin, we spoke about that it wasn't supposed to be a machlokas. We're used to the Torah. Everything's a machlokas nowadays. You take any sefer on any kind of halacha, everything's a machlokas. It's not the way it's supposed to be. We do the best we could, but that's not the way it's supposed to be. There's supposed to be one halacha for all. It's a different kind of a Judaism. We don't recognize that. It's supposed to be one halacha for all. And if any question would come up in any of the Batei Dinim, they would go higher and higher until they come to the Supreme Court, which is called Sanhedrin Agadol. And over there would be the decision making, and then it would apply to everybody. It wouldn't be any speakers after that. It's a fascinating way to understand what Torah is supposed to be. It's a whole different system, and we're lacking now. The fact that we have machlokas is not good. It's not supposed to be that way. All the Batei Dinim are supposed to be just judicial, but not legislative. There's only one legislative body, which is Sanhedrin Agadol, and we don't have it nowadays. So now every chacham has to do what he thinks, and that's what he's supposed to do. And it's talmidim because they go on his coattails, but it's not the absolute way that Hashem had wanted it. He wanted Shalom Machlokas b'Yisrael. I think it's as far as we got last time. But to continue, if anybody wants to mention anything that we said till now, please do. Anytime, feel free. It's a different world. It's a different world. It's a different world. Right. It's a whole different world. Right. Can you imagine that there would be one halacha for everybody? We don't even understand such a Judaism. There's a problem now also. A side point that I don't want to get off the subject, but people think that if they want to get closer to Hashem, they have to be machmer more. The whole Yiddishkeit is based upon the firmer you are, the more chumrah you do, and it's a very big mistake. It's a very big mistake. The person doesn't. He puts aside the levels of getting closer to Hashem are not to do a Chumrah. Chumrah has its place. We don't have to learn about it. And what's the parameters of Chumrah? There is a place for Chumrah, but you have to know what it is. If the halacha is that it's mutar, so why being machmir? So that's a subject. But people, they put the whole emphasis on that, and they don't realize that the real essence of progressing towards Hashem is to be more ahavas Hashem, more yiras Hashem, more taras alev, that the mitzvah should be done in more quality. And the quality is not just to get another chumrah, that's bichoshes for another shita. And all these chashas really should be, are not going to be. There's going to be one halacha for everybody. There will be hidurim, and there might be something like, and there could be a siag, that people make a siag around it. But halacha is supposed to be boror, everybody the same halacha. I think everybody's going to be having some kind of hookup or on their telephone. And of course, everything's going to be not only kosher, there's not going to be any tumah in the whole world. The world's going to be, can you imagine a world where there's no Avodah Zarah, there's no Christianity, there's no Islam, there's no pagan, no atheism. Everybody knows Hashem, Hashem Echad Shmo Echad. You don't need a filter because the whole world will be out there. There's not going to be tumah in the world, and all these technologies only going to be for the Kodesh Kodesh. And I imagine everybody's going to have a special Sanhedrin hookup, and the updates come every day. If any all the that the person that does halacha and he didn't realize the bezin changed halacha, is he considered a shogig? Is he supposed to always find out? I imagine in the future it's going to be, it'll be every day they get the new updates of the psukim. And if anybody has a question, there's going to be one psak for everybody. Also, I didn't, maybe goes into together with Sanhedrin. There's supposed to be, I don't know if I mentioned it any place over here, but there's supposed to be punishments also. The punishments that there should be a din, that we don't have din nowadays. That's a terrible thing. Everything is sefker. There's no mishpat. And mishpat is supposed to be mishpat. Emma is supposed to be punishments. And that's supposed to eradicate evil. And that's the matzah of the Beis HaMikdash. And for the Beis HaMikdash, for Sanhedrin, you need a Beis HaMikdash. Why do we need? So it seems that in the times of Mashiach, it doesn't seem that it's ready. The Ramchal seems to say that there's still a time of Bechira. There is Bechira during the Beis. It says on one hand it says that how does it go over there? Yom Mashaim Behem Chayfetz. That is not the word Chayfetz is translated to mean Bechira. But on the other hand, it says that it's called Avodah. If there's Avodah, then it has to be that you could do something, you could accomplish it. There's no Yitzhar around, it's not. So I don't know how to juggle it exactly, but it seems that we will have already merited because of our maasim in the past 5,700, etc. That we're not going to go back anymore. It means we're not going to fall back, but we will have merited to come to that level. But there's still going to be a choice of continuing to do avodah Hashem. It's still called avodah. Means during Moshe Mashiach, it's still called the time of avodah, and not yet the time of schar. It's the avodah on a high level. It's not avodah that people are baling movement. But Nassim Rotman, he once gave a mashal that even if a person doesn't understand, in our world of learning, a person is very, very low level of intellect, and he doesn't understand. And he learns a Mishnah, Shosh Nogach Sapora. It takes him 5 minutes to understand what a shor is, and what Nogach is, and Pora is, and he learns on his level, and he gets hard for trying, but he doesn't have the benefit of knowing the sugya. So, and just as a mashal, but as a springboard to go further, that the level of our avodas Hashem is very, very low because we don't have musagim, we don't have concepts, we don't know Hashem, we don't know the depth. And the Hashem we do has to be on a high level. The avodah has to be on a high level, not just the avodah and the schar go together. It's not like just you work, so I'm going to give you a schar. It has to be that the avodah that we're doing is producing that schar. It's all one and the same. That we're building ourselves. So we have to be building ourselves on a high level. So we need more das. We need the Allah hours there, Hashem, that we should know what we're doing when we're serving Hashem, that service should be able to be translated into the great schar that's supposed to be for eternity. So that's the time of Moshe Mashiach that our avodah is going to be a high level. I don't have a good nusach. I don't have an explanation how to say that there's not a Yetzer Hara, but there's still a avodah. The Chor is contradiction. There has to be some kind of a inclination of else you're not doing anything. Like we just had on Derech Hashem, those that are on the Sunday class. So we just had the point that in order to be Bechira, it has to be that you have an inclination towards both sides. If not, then you're forced into it. It could be that maybe we merited because of our maisim, so we merited. That's considered we made the choice already. We got there, and everything that the reason why our mitzvahs are going to count is because we brought ourselves to that level. But not that there's still going to be a choice of doing bad because we're past that already. But on the merit of what we made the choice, so then our maisim are going to count. It needs some lumdis to explain how it's possible to have avodas Hashem even though there's no inclination towards bad. But that should be included also, that there's mishpat and tzedek, and the evil is going to be eradicated. It's a different world to think how it looks. It's just, I think it's good if a person has the opportunity, if he's walking on the street, whatever, he's trying to fall asleep, that just to you let your imagination go wild, what you would think about a perfect world. Think about how some streets look and how they're supposed to be cleaned up. Can you imagine the bad mishmeres, whatever, sneers, whatever, that there's, whatever the sneers, whatever is supposed to be, would be all the crime, whatever they try to, all the evil that you have in this world nowadays, that they shouldn't be evil.
It wouldn't need a vad mishmeres hatznias. You wouldn't need all the vadim.
Right. Imagine what would be if there wouldn't be a problem of. Everybody would realize. Then everyone would be like, when we see sometimes what the sneers issue. Like, don't you realize that this is shameful? Nowadays they don't realize. But if everyone would be on the level, so then everyone would realize what's considered shameful, and they would be embarrassed. There wouldn't be such a thing. Everybody would be on a level of knowing Hashem. Hashgacha Gluya. Yes, please. Tel Aviv is Kodesh. Tel Aviv, all the places that you think about, if you think about a street that you'd rather not be on that street, there won't be such things anymore. Everything's going to be Kodesh. Also, imagine all the going being out of Eretz Yisrael, like it says, and only Eretz Yisrael is supposed to be only for the Jews, not supposed to be for going. Maybe every Knani that would have Bizocha, the Avodim Knani that are Zocha to serve Am Yisrael, they'll be the ones who will be permitted to be here, and those Goyim that are going to become the Chassidim Olam that are going to be Zocha to come B'Achno Gedola and serving Am Yisrael, those that are going, like it says about the Pitchu Shavayich Tamid, the Yom V'Layla Yisageru, and they're going to be coming Chel Goyim. They're becoming, all the nations will be coming with the best that they have in order to show tribute to Hashem by showing tribute to Am Yisrael. That's so it's going to be open to everybody that Am Yisrael is a representation of Hashem in the world, and the Chutz La'aretz is only for the Goyim. Not going to be any Jews in Chutz La'aretz. I think that anybody talks about Yishuv Haaretz, and everybody has to. Everybody should be masking. Everybody. If they don't mask him to this, then they're off the map. That B'tikuna, there's not supposed to be a Jew in Chutz La'aretz. Everybody agrees. If that's a chiddush to them, then they have to.
No, you don't have to even to travel.
Nothing. Chutz La'aretz is tamei. Chutz La'aretz is tamei. There's not going to be the not going to be coming. The guy not going to be coming. The point that no Jew would live in Chutz La'aretz. The Chutz La'aretz is for the goyim, and Eretz Yisrael is for the Jews. Is it a mind wrencher that the Tikkun Olam is supposed to be that there's no Jew in Chutz La'aretz. There's no such thing as a Jew in Chutz. No such thing as a goy in Eretz Yisrael. Only if they're coming to bring a korban, they're going to be coming to serve Hashem. But not that there's a kviyos of Am Yisrael in Chutz La'aretz, and not that there's a kviyos of goyim in Eretz Yisrael. That's not the way the world is made. The world is made that Eretz Yisrael is for the Jews, and Chutz La'aretz is for the goyim. And of course, only those goyim, the tukanim, only the goyim who deserve to be at that time, and they shouldn't be eradicated. The good goyim are going to be, and the ones who are all, I don't know which nation that is. Which nation nowadays could say that they're the nation that realize Hashem? I don't know what it's going to be, but the goyim that are going to be existing are the goyim that are all to Hashem and to know Hashem Elokei Yisrael.
No, I said I don't think there's many Jews that think it's not a chiddush. I don't think Jews are so far away from it.
But Lachar is question. If you think about it,
I never think it's not true. I never thought of it. There's been no such. Our whole family is not going to go into Chutz La'aretz.
Right. There's not my cousin in there. There's no such thing. If he's a Jewish cousin, he's in Eretz Yisrael. What's he doing in Chutz La'aretz? The Messiah Mashiach is supposed to be the time of the shleimus of the way the world is supposed to be. It's still olam avoda, but it's b'shleimut. And the Jews are not supposed to be in Golos, and Chutz La'aretz is Golos, so they realize it or not. But then everyone's going to realize it, and no one's going to be in Chutz La'aretz. And I think the opposite true that they're going.
Sick, they're not going to go to Schweiz for the first year.
That's less than
the water coming out of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, that's going to fill all that. Ashgacha, there's going to be Ashgacha Gluya. So in the Beis HaMikdash, even in the times earlier, that the constant nisim that were in the Beis HaMikdash, and it was evident that Hashem is there. It means we talk about the Shekhinah, like we said, that Hashem is not physical and this doesn't take up a physical place, but that's the place of the revelation. And it would be revelation of the Shekhinah in the Beis HaMikdash. Like it says, there were 10 constant nisim that were in the Beis HaMikdash, and besides that also the Nevuah that we said before, that shows that there's a revelation of Hashem, the fact that there's Nevuah in the world because of the Beis HaMikdash. The Gashmi is also the physicality of the world. The Gemara says that it changed because of the Churban. B'shachar Beis HaMikdash batel Hashamir, Benofes Sufim, Upasko Anshe Amana, Yom Beis Hamikdash ein yom shein bo klala v'lo v'tal bracha nitel tam peros nitel shuman peros. Yerushalayim is considered the beauty of the world. Mimenu muchlal yofio shalom. That's called Mitzia Nichlal Yofi. All the beauty of the world is supposed to be in Yerushalayim, and that's the way it's supposed to be when Mashiach is going to come. The psukim, as about Yerushalayim, I just brought a collection of psukim over here that always talk about the place where Hashem is going to choose. Means it doesn't say even one time in the Torah, and the Nevi'im Ksuvim says many times, but in the Torah it doesn't say even one time Yerushalayim. It does talk about Shalem, Melech Shalem, or Melchizedek, Melech Shalem, and talks about Hashem. But the Torah always talks about times. I didn't count, but it's at least 10 times that it talks about the place that Hashem is going to choose again and again and again. That place is Yerushalayim. When Hashem shows it, He shows it by David. It says Hashem shows David. It shows Yerushalayim. Of course, Hashem knew what's going to be, but it seems that it was chosen at the time of David. That's when it was chosen. Until then, it was a place that Hashem was going to choose, and that place we know now is Yerushalayim. And that's look at all those psukim where it says that place that Hashem is going to choose. That's the place. This is the place that Hashem is going to choose. The Medrash also talks about the Yerushalayim as being the Makom HaMikdash. The place is the foundation of the world. I don't know if to take it literally or not at face value, but it says the world was founded from that stone, which is called Eben Shtia, which is the place of the Makom HaMikdash. The Gemara Bacham says by Shmuel and David by Yeshua ben Ayos Berama, and the Gemara dashes that it means that they were Osek Berama, Yoshim Berama, Osek ben Noye Shalom, that it means they were trying to find out what is the Makom HaMikdash, and they figured out where it is. They were trying to find out what is that place. It means there's a very much significance attributed to the place of the Beis HaMikdash. The place has to be in a certain place. Makom HaShivcha Hashem. And it says that David, Kinas Beischa Chalasni, Zchar Hashem David Eis Kaluno, So Hashem Yishbal Hashem, Imol Oba Bol Beisi Emetich Nasla Imoi Lafa Paitu Imoi Adem Zamakom Hashem. That David says he couldn't sleep until he finds the place that Hashem should have a permanent dwelling, and that he says I can't go to my own house. I can't give slumber to my eyes until I find a place. There's a message that after the Churban, the Beis HaMikdash, but they made a decree that it should be rebuilt. Not an unknown medrash that they did allow the Beis HaMikdash should be rebuilt, but then started transporting gold and silver. What does it say? The word over there that it says that they tried to stop it. Kasvu Sitna. They made a Sitna. They made some kind of a and they what's the word? Like the prosecution. I forgot what the word is called. But they tried to stop it, and they convinced the king to retract, but he wasn't able to retract. And once he made the Gzeir, he wasn't able to retract it. So it says, decree that they could still make it, but make that it should be in a different place. They should move it, make it bigger 5 amas, smaller 5 amas, move it a different place. Then they're not going to do it. It means that even the Kusim realized that the chashivus of the significance, where it has to be dafka in the place where it is, has eternal significance, and you can't change it. To have a Beis HaMikdash in a different place doesn't go, and that's what it says that happened. That they stopped the building of the Beis HaMikdash by saying that it has to be in a different a little bit off. So you see the chashivus of that significance of that place. The Gemara says that the kedusha of the Beis HaMikdash is even in the times of the Churban. Like it says in the Gemara Bracha, it's called Havokik Ba'arbais Bisman Azeki L'Working with Baba Seinu Shenema Ba'yu Ein Avliv Yisham Kol Hayamim. If someone spits in Harabais, it's like he's spitting Kavayachol into the pupil of his eye. Like it says that Hashem says, my eye and my heart are going to be there always. So I mean, Kol Hayamim, even the Churban, the Makom HaMikdash is still holy even at the time of the Churban. Of course, it's not the same when the Beis HaMikdash is standing, but there is kedusha to that place. Hashem Shekhinah resides over there, and it's so much more painful when you think about what's happening on the Har Bayis now, and the Shekhinah is there, and it's being by the Shekets, the Shikas Meshomim, that's on the place of the Makom HaMikdash, and the Shualim Hilchubo, the our enemies, the ones that are against Hashem, even though they not doing avodah zarah, but the whole attitude towards Hashem's people, the ones that Hashem said that these are my people, this is what I want. So it's like that the maidservant is taking the place, and to know that the Shekhinah is there and it's captured, so to speak, in a place in its own home, that the Shekhinah is there, and the Goyim are the ones who are dominating over there, and as if to say that Hashem is married to them. That's how the wife of the king is supposed to feel when she was pushed away and the Shifcha came into place. It's supposed to be very, very painful to be able to see the Har Bayis and its destruction, with all the Goyim that are acting over there as if they belong there. That's a terrible tsar, and people are supposed to be pained by it. We find many Gemaras about the Tsar Shechina that Hashem is pained by the fact that the Beis Mikdash is Charev, and Hashem's happiness when it's going to be built. The Gemara in Megillah that says, Tani Osa Yom Hoisa Simcha Lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yom Shenivu Bo Shemayim Ba'aretz. The day of the building of the Beis HaMikdash, the Mishkan, the Beis HaMikdash was like important to Hashem, was happy to Hashem, the same way that creation was made, because the purpose of creation is that, this is what it says, that Hashem says that the whole purpose of creation is that I should live amongst Bnei Yisrael. So the day of that all the creation was just waiting for that day. The day that Hashem came to us, that's the happiness of creation. Avodah Zarah Daf Gimel, Amalei Rav Nachman Yitzchak, Yom Shechar Beis HaMikdash Ein Tzchok LaKadosh Baruch Hu. From the day of the Chorban, Hashem is not laughing. The laughter, the simcha, the outpour of joy by Hashem was discontinued from the time of the Beis HaMikdash, the time of the Chorban. Chagiga Dafei Amar Papa Ein Asvas Lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Od Vada Lefana Boz B'Ched Bo B'Mkomo. The more the kasha over there because it says Hashem is said. Another place it says that Hashem is not said. Lo kasha B'Vat Gavoy B'Vat Broi. There's an inner chamber, an outer chamber. In the inner chamber over there, it could be that Hashem there is sadness, but in the outer chamber not. But the Gemara says and again in the outer chamber not. In the outer chamber Hashem doesn't show sadness. The kasha is V'Ksiv Hashem Molakim. That Hashem called for crying and eulogizing, and the word karcha would mean like pulling out hair and girding oneself with sackcloth, and that's talking about Fehesia. That's not called something with sinner, that's called Fehesia. And Hashem is announcing that there's an avelos, there's a mourning, there's a lamentation. That's the Chorban. The more answer, that's the Beis HaMikdash. Shani Chorban Beis HaMikdash, that over there Hashem is sad even outwardly. Like it says, Malachei Afilu Malachei Shalom Baruch Shenamar Hein Rolam Sak Chutza Malachei Shalom Mariv Kayun. That's an exception. Chorban Beis HaMikdash is different than anything else. That's out of the regular order. The regular order, Hashem doesn't have sadness publicly, but as far as the Chorban, that's an exception. Chagiga Daf Gimel Kasav Echadom Elaf Alfin Sham Shunei Riba Rivavon Kadamo Yikamun Kasav Echadom Yesh B'Spar L'Gdudav. One place it says that there's thousands of Shamoshim of Hashem, tens of myriads. Another place it says that there's no number at all. It's infinite. That's the contradiction. The Gemara says, "Kam b'zman Beis HaMikdash Kaim, Kam b'zman Shem Beis HaMikdash Kayam, Kivayachol v'smat Papali Shalmala." That the entourage, the Malachim, those that are serving Hashem, they became less because of Chorban. There's a difference between the time of the Beis HaMikdash, where it's infinite, and times of the Chorban Beis HaMikdash, then it's already finite. The Medrash and Eicher Rabasi, it says over there, Mishoyis Shechina Yotzeis Beis Mikdash Shoyis Chozer Samud Gafefes Umanashekes Kosei Beis HaMikdash. When the Shechina was leaving, so the Shechina was hugging and kissing the walls of the Beis HaMikdash and in the pillars of the Beis HaMikdash and crying and saying, Hoy Shalom Beis Mikdashi, Hoy Shalom Beis Malchusi, Hoy Shalom Beis Yikari, Hoy Shalom Beis Mikdashi, Hoy Shalom. That it was the Shechina was eulogizing and lamenting and grieving over the fact that the Beis Mikdash is going to be destroyed and the Shechina had to leave. The essence of that means that Hashem's happiness is to be with Am Yisrael, and that's what the Beis Mikdash is. And when he's forced Kivayachol to leave, that's the great sadness and the grieving of the Shechina. Hashem has sar on the Chorban Beis HaMikdash to daven for its rebuilding. It says in the Medrash, Be'eshes Rabbah, V'chol siach hasadeh, kol sichasan shel brios eina ela ala oretz. People in general, they always speaking about the earth. Avdas Ara, no Avdas is how is it producing? Like today, people talk about the weather. People talk about the earth. People of agriculture. Is the earth producing? Is it not? We can say nowadays it will mean business. Everyone's talking about business the whole time. Mori Tavadara, Mori Taslachara. Even when they daven to Hashem, they're davening that business and their agriculture should be matzliach. But Kol Filoshin Shal Yisrael Le'enu Ela Beis HaMikdash. Mori is Bana Beis HaMikdash. Mori Moshe is Bana Beis HaMikdash. The whole issue, the whole what's occupying the mind and the heart of Am Yisrael is the Beis HaMikdash. That they're davening, my master, Mori, the Beis HaMikdash should be built. My master, when is the Beis HaMikdash going to be built? That's the what? That's what's supposed to be. That's what's supposed to be. That's Am Yisrael. But in the normal mindset of Am Yisrael is the Beis HaMikdash is on their mind the whole time. Medrash Tehillim. V'yom God el David. V'yom lo alei v'akem l'Hashem Yisrael. Moshe l'madav v'dam v'le'echad shoyeh makal v'no. V'lo yodeh aben lama hu makal. So this is talking about by the end of Sefer Shmuel over there. It says that there was a Magefa after David counted Bnei Yisrael over there, and it says that God Hanavi he told David to build a mizbech to Hashem. So the Midrash says that the Mashal Levi, father was hitting his son, and the son didn't know why. What did he do wrong? After the father hit the son, he told him, go do such and such that I told you a long time ago, and you still didn't do it. So the son chapped, that's the reason why he was getting hit. It says that the people that died by that Magefa, even though it says over there because of the counting probably was that it took away a certain shmira. But the punishment, the reason why they died is because there was something wrong. And the reason why the thousands of people died over there by the Magefa was because they hadn't asked for the Beis HaMikdash. There wasn't a whole Beis HaMikdash, it wasn't built yet. This is from times of David. But the fact that they weren't asking for a Beis HaMikdash, that was a complaint against them, and that's the reason why they died. And that's why it says over there that after Magefa, Hashem told David, build a Mizbeach. That means that you could tell that's the reason why they were being hit. That's the mashal over there. That the father was hitting the son, he didn't know why. And then the father said, do something, do this thing that I told you to do. So here too, that there was a Magefa against Am Yisrael, and then the Navi came in the name of Hashem, build a Mizbeach. That means that's the reason why they were punished, because they didn't build a Mizbeach. So the if they never had a Beis HaMikdash, but they were reprimanded and held responsible for the fact that they didn't ask for it, so we had a Beis HaMikdash and it was destroyed, and if we're not going to mourn and ask Rachamim for its return, surely we're going to be held liable. לפיכך הסכימו חסידים הראשונים שישראל מספר שלוש תפילות בכל יום ויום אנא השב שכינס לציון ושא דוד לירושלים ותקנו בון ירושלים השם ברוכה בפני עצמו בתפילה בברכת המזון. That's why Chazal instituted in the Shemon Esrei 3 times a day, and also in Bרכת המזון a tefillah that Hashem should return the Shekhinah to Tzion. What it says in Ritzei, Vashev Asavoda L'Dvir Beisecha, and also in Bרכת המזון there's a tefillah for the bias for Yisrael Amacha Bal Yerushalayim Yirecha Bal Tzim Mishkan Kavodecha. That he instituted that we should ask for the Beis HaMikdash both in Tefillah and in Bרכת Hamazon. There's a long Avichas over here from the Mesilas Yesharim that he talks about in Perek Yutes. Over there it talks about that a person, a chassid, loves Hashem and he cares about the Kiddush Hashem. Over there, I'm trying to read it now. A few minutes left. Mine was a bit earlier today, so we have to stop earlier. But it says. And Tana Develio, Kol Chacham Yisrael Sheish Badivei Torah Lamito, Masaneach HaKodesh LaKodesh Baruch Hu, and Kol Yamav, Masava Meitzel L'Chvod Yerushalayim L'Chvod Beis HaMikdash for the Yeshua Shetitzmach L'Korah for the Kunas Golios, Zoch L'Ruach HaKodesh B'Dvaro. That it's a Chacham, Talmud Chacham, who is trying to learn Divrei Torah according to his truth, and he's sighing, he feels grieved over the honor of Hashem, and he desires and is troubled by the covenant of Yerushalayim, the covenant of the Beis HaMikdash, and the Yeshua that should come soon, and to the ingathering of the exiles. A person like that is Zoch to Ruach HaKodesh. The Mesilas Yesharim says, this is a high level of a chassid that is intention in all of Avodas Hashem. That to make cause a Kiddush Hashem, and that in order to have Kiddush Hashem, it has to be that there should be a Beis HaMikdash. I'm skipping a little bit. A person has to constantly be troubled and pain about the Golas of Am Yisrael and the Churban of the Beis Hamikdash because it causes a minimizing of the honor of Hashem. And he, with his, the redemption was the redemption honor of Yerushalayim. When Yerushalayim was degraded, which it is very much nowadays, so that's a pain to Am Yisrael because it's the result to the Kvod Shemayim. Yisrael Tamid al Gulas Bnei Yisrael. A person should, this chassid should constantly daven for the redemption of Bnei Yisrael and the returning of exile should be gathered in, and the Yeshua should come. The answer is that it says in Sanhedrin, a person was created as an individual, that he should realize each person is looked upon as the whole creation. And it's a nachas ruach for Hashem that Bnei Yisrael wanted and daven for it, even if it's not time yet. I could just say that now we don't have about it, it's not the time. We see how it's so close, everything's happening. When the Ramchal is talking about 250 years ago in Padua. But here we're talking about that Am Yisrael is an Eretz Yisrael, 7 million people. Anybody can come within a couple of hours. And really, Hashem gave us shlita in the government with us not using it the way we're supposed to. And there are not enough people that are loyal to Hashem to vote in the right people. But people definitely have power nowadays to bring the Gula closer. And it's coming very fast. And here he says that even if a person wouldn't be able to actualize this desire, but the fact that they're trying and they're davening and they want it, Hashem is happy about that. And if the people don't, then it says that Hashem looks around and he says, nobody's here. Like Hashem is looking, he's interested in helping me. So he knows Shema, like nobody's caring about Sion. We see that we're obligated, that Hashem wants us to care about Sion. We shouldn't pater ourselves, discharge ourselves because we're not have enough koach. And it says, it's not your job to finish, you have to do whatever you could, but you're not free to stop whatever you could, not to do whatever you could. The marshal of a woman who raised children, and then when she's in her old age and she needs help, they're not there to help her. Am Yisrael is supposed to be there to help the Shechina. People only interested in their own hana, they're doing it for their own benefit, even if they're doing it in order to get zechuyot and schar and kibbutz Hashem, but they're not caring about Kvod Shemayim. And he says that people are not davening for the Eloi kavod the Goloshin Shal Yisrael. For Am Yisrael to be elevated, the level of Am Yisrael and their kavod should be elevated because it's impossible that there should be Kvod Shemayim without Kvod Yisrael. This is his point that it goes together. Yav shel kavod elyon l'Yisrabos elo b'Goloshin Shal Yisrael. Because that the Kvod Hashemayim is telling Kvod Yisrael. Am Yisrael is a representation of Hashem in this world, and if someone cares about the Ilui Kvod Shemayim, it's only happening in the Ilui Kvod Yisrael. Like it says, it goes together. He ends off that there are two issues we're talking about. One is that for elevation of Kvod Shemayim, and also that Tzan Bakasha Liloi Kvod Shel Yisrael, that he should always be pained about the Kvod of Am Yisrael and the tranquility which will be the Kvod Shemayim, because he cares about Kvod Shemayim. We have to stop already, it's very late. The Gemara is coming soon. We should be zocher to the Beis Hamikdash, and I think that if anybody wants in the next couple of days, I think it's very helpful to get a person in the right mood to read Eicha, to get the translation and then to read it by himself, even in privacy, and he can sit on the floor also. Like Rabbi Muller said, you don't have to wait after in the shul on Tisha B'Av. A person the whole year could sit on the floor, find a place, and read Eicha, and be mourning over the Beis Hamikdash, and the schos of the morning will bring us to its rebuilding.
Good.